Now I know what you're thinking. You looked at the title of this video and you went, come on, Bentley. What's with the clickbait, man? You don't do this. Not clickbait. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, this is Bentley, and today we're going to talk about how you can make a lot of money in a single day just with plants. Plants! That's it! I recently just did my third kind of aquarium swap meet. You're going to be like, well, that doesn't count. Here's the thing. With about a month worth of growing plants, which if you look at the tank behind me, you'll see it's kind of barren. I went through, I let all of my tanks grow out, half on purpose. I knew this was coming up, but at the same time, you guys know, I work a ton. So I had all these trimmings to take care of. Swap meets, little events like that are like perfect. If you get an opportunity to do them, usually they're pretty cheap. You get a table for $15 to $30, and now all you have to do is sell your plants. Bring a lot. This is not about rare or crazy special plants that sell for a lot of money. No, I've done this 3 times, and every time, all of my plants have sold for $5 a bag. Let's say that you have an aquatic swap meet, or something very similar that you're about to have coming up. How do you do what I've done? And I'm being real, like flashing things for the thumbnail. I immediately took that to the bank, but that was literally my take from 2 different swap meets. So when I say in the thumbnail, you can make $300 or more in a single day, I'm not kidding with plants. I've done this 3 times. Every swap meet I've done, I have profited, assuming that you discount things I decided to buy, but my cost to do the event, at least $300. Now granted, these swap meets here in the Seattle area only come around about maybe twice a year. So it's not like you're going to every single day make that much money. Let's be realistic here. But you can take a month's worth of work, and rather than the amount of time it takes to have lots of people come through or shipping lots of things out online, you can do it all in one day, in one shot. Maybe you've been really busy and all your plants have overgrown for a couple of weeks, like mine. This is a perfect opportunity to, 1, clear out your plants, kind of reset yourself, so that you're not too overgrown and that you're not kind of stifling your own plants. And 2, make a good amount of money at the same point. Both the swap meets I've done have not been very long, maybe 5 total hours of time. So if you think about that, that's about $60 an hour. That's a pretty good rate to be doing just plants. So when I say plants for profit, I really mean it, guys. Now, how do we make this appealing and make it easy to do these things? All of my bags, whenever I do these swap meets, are just $5 a bag. And it's typically something like your standard fish bag with 7 to 10 stems, almost universally stems. Now, if it's something like Jungle Val, similar. It's going to be like 10 nodes of Jungle Val, Pygmy Chainsword. I'll put in like 12 or 15 nodes of the Chainsword. If it's Java Fern, when my Java Ferns have grown a lot, I'll do a rhizome, chunks that are like this big, and put like 2 of them in there. Maybe like 2 is going to be $10. It might be 1 for $5, right? But typically all my bags are $5. I want to make it simple and easy on people so that everything they look at on the table, $5. That's it. The second you do something like that, it's more appealing to people. When you have lots of things that are like, well, this one's $7 and this one's $10 and this one's really rare, so it's $15. Don't do any of that. Focus mostly on your easy plants. I'll give you a list of the plants that I took to the swap meet, and you're going to notice right away that almost all of them don't need CO2, don't need highlight. So I had broadleaf water sprite, wisteria, bacopa, Java fern, riccia. You see where I'm going with this? Ludwigia repens. All these easy plants, and then some of the like kind of medium stuff, right? I had Pogostamen erectus, I had Rotala atra, and then like only 2 plants were really the hard stuff, and that was Rotala mini butterfly, a species of bacopa called colorata, which doesn't require highlight, but to get its cool pink color, you need highlight and CO2. Everything I brought, with the exception of the Rotala mini butterfly, and in the case of proper coloring, the colorata did not require CO2 in order to grow it. but sometimes it requires CO2 to get certain colors. You're going to have a lot of people who do use CO2 in an area where planted tanks are pretty common, but you do not want to focus on hard or expensive plants. Easy plants are what 95% of your customers are going to want to buy. Now let's talk about the strategy for making sure you sell a ton. So I took, I think it was 100 bags of plants with me to the swap meet. And for the first 2 hours, it was just $5 a bag. After the first 2 hours, because usually the swap meets are most busy in the first couple of hours, I looked at how much I had left, and it became buy two, get one free. So the goal is the later people that come, or maybe you've got some people that are there that kind of looked over and went, I don't know, I'll keep looking around. The ability is to entice them with a better value. I'm not trying to make as much money as possible. I'm just giving people a good value because I have a lot of plants and I don't need as many plants in my house. Something along those lines. And the goal is you need to, one, have a good value. People have to be able to look at that $5 bag and see as much as they would get in a store for $10 or $15. And that immediately tells them, this guy or gal has really great prices. I'm going to get a deal. And I'm going to remember that person every swap meet I go to because they're going to have the best deals in the entire place. 3 times now I've done swap meets. Every time I do a swap meet, I tend to have the largest crowd around my table during the busiest times. Now, part of that is I tend to be the person that brings the most plants, and I bring the most easy plants. But at the same time, it's because as a group of people show up and they're looking at things and they seem interested, more people will want to know, well, why are all those people over there? And they'll get curious and they'll come check out your table too. The goal is to make sure that you kind of always have somebody looking at your items because the value is good. So we give our customers a value. That's important. Now, here's the second part that matters the most. You need to be really enthusiastic about your plants. Hopefully, if you're doing plants for profit, you really enjoy planted tanks and you're going to naturally be very enthusiastic. But I'll give you some examples. I had a species of hygrophila called green olive with me. Not a very common plant. It's becoming more common. I'm sure some of you planted tank nerds definitely have seen this plant. And maybe you went, oh, it's a hygrophila. It probably grows really fast. I don't know, man. It's just a green color. Let me explain to you why this plant is so cool. Okay? 1, it grows much slower than normal hygrophilas. 2, it has this very dark green coloration, which offsets against the normal bright green of plants in our tank. And as the leaves get larger, so they start really small, and as they start getting bigger and bigger, there's this marbling kind of pattern to it like a crypt that makes it really beautiful and really stand out as the leaves get larger. Makes it very unique. What I just explained to you is exactly how I explain it to my customers, because it tells them why that plant is something they should buy, because it's different, it's interesting. With water wisteria and broadleaf water sprite, it was simple. I grow mine floating because the roots come down. It gives my fry lots of protection. It's a simple plant. It grows really fast. It's good for cycling a tank. It fills up a lot of area. You give all the positives. You want to tell people what makes that plant great. That helps them in turn go, yeah, that plant's great for what I want to do. Ask your customers. It's just like when you bring a customer to your tanks at your home if you're doing that. I do that every so often, not as much nowadays because I'm so busy. But you want to show them plants, you want to talk to them about what is interesting, and more importantly, you want to ask them about their tank and what they're looking to do. Do they want red plants, but they don't have CO2? Okay, well, we can look at Alternanthera reinekii. It'll grow, but it's going to be a little different. Here's how. Here's Ludwigia repens. It's like the easiest red plant you're ever going to find. It's going to be this nice red underneath on the underside of the leaf. It's going to be green on the top. It doesn't grow super fast, but it's a stem, so it grows pretty easy. You give them the benefits and help them find what they're looking for in the products you're selling. Now, if you don't have something, admit that full out. You want them to know that you're not going to try and just do anything you can for a sale, you want them to feel that you're that person who is going to help them. If you have business cards with your information, have those with you. I usually don't, just because I don't do them very often, or my schedule is so busy that I can't necessarily schedule people regularly to come buy plants. So I don't typically carry a business card. However, I have the benefit of YouTube. So I can tell people just, hey, just look up Bentley Pascoe on YouTube. You'll find me. That's basically my business card. For those of you who aren't doing YouTube, or, you're like, well, I can't really use that as a mechanism, or maybe you don't have the kind of notoriety in a local club like I do nowadays. You're just starting out. Have a business card. Have your information to give to people so that in the future, if they want more plants, they can. And you can even tell them, if there are people looking for really advanced plants and you didn't bring very many of those, hey, I have a lot more of the rarer or harder to do plants at my home. I just don't bring them to these swap meets because most of my customers are looking for easy plants. So that's what I tend to bring the most of to these events. However, if you contact me here on the information on my business card, we can schedule something for you to come out and check out all of the cool stuff that I have. And ahead of time, you can email me and we can talk back and forth so that you can get something a little more interesting or a little harder for those really big plant enthusiasts that are out there at these events. Now, finally, as you get further into your event, make deals. If you've got somebody who's kind of waffling like, well, I kind of want this fourth plant, but now it's outside of the buy two, get one free. It's like, hey, you know what? If you pick up those two, I'll give you two for free instead. Things like that make people realize that they're getting this great value. And toward the end of a swap, you don't want to take anything home. So realistically, that extra bag of plants not selling for $5 and instead just securing a sale at $2.50 a bag is better than taking that bag of plants home. Okay, so we've got how we're going to price things, kind of a philosophy as we go throughout the event. Quantity matters. Maybe you have some other things to sell. Maybe you have things like catappa leaves lying around, or you got alder cones that grow in your backyard for shrimp. Find everything you can that's at small amounts, right? And you don't necessarily have to do a lot. You can have like 3 or 4 alder cones in a bag for $5, like little bundles, not individual cones. Come on, guys. But this is how you can very easily make $300, $400, maybe even $500 in a single event just selling plants and kind of plant-related stuff. You don't have to have crazy stuff. You don't have to bring like filters and lights, tanks, skip all of that stuff. Now, if you need to get some of that stuff out of your house, yeah, bring it to a swap. But more importantly, price it cheap. Price it to sell. Don't price trying to make the most possible money. Price it so that it leaves. And the faster, the better. I brought some pleco caves with me to the last one that I wasn't going to use anymore. They either were too large or too small for what my intents were, given that I no longer have certain plecos in my possession. I sold them for 2 for $10 for the small ones, and for the big ones, 2 for $15. Super cheap. I mean, these were like $20 a piece pleco caves. The goal is to sell things at a rate where people go, that is a great value. I should buy from this person. Make sure your plants look healthy, all that kind of stuff. Those are caveats, right? But make sure the value is obvious, because if the value is obvious, sales will happen and they will just keep happening throughout your day. As you get further into the day, be willing to ratchet your prices down a little bit. Like I said, I went to buy 2, get 1 free. At the very end of my event, the last hour, it was buy 1, get 1 free. I don't care about giving some stuff away at the end of an event to make sure I sell as much as possible. Yeah, $5 a bag is great at the start of the event, but toward the end of the event, you don't want to walk home with 50 bags of stuff. If you're not selling stuff, bring your price down a little bit, and you will. The better the value you can give to each of your customers, the more they will buy. Very commonly, I had folks buying $20 worth of stuff. That's my average sale when people come into my home and buy plants, is $20. Well, now I'm doing this with continuous streams of people in an event for a few hours And while I'm there, I get to see some friends, I get to have some fun, I get to have conversations, meet new plant nerds. That is where it matters. Sometimes you can even network at some of these plant swaps. In an upcoming video, I'm actually going to tell you about some cool stuff that I'm going to get to try out because I networked with a guy at a plant swap. But while I was there, my goal was sell plants, help clear down some of my kind of inventory, if you will, and give people good deals. If you go in wanting to give people good deals, you will make a lot of sales. That's it, guys. This is a really simple Plants for Profit video. No clickbait, though. I'm very serious in that. I've done this 3 times now at swaps where I've made at least $300, and that's after the cost of my table. And if it's a longer swap, if I bought food, that also includes the cost of my food for that day. Did I buy stuff at some of these swaps and like walk home with $300 in my pocket? A couple of times, yeah. But I know I made that much money, and more importantly, I basically just traded plants for those couple things I wanted. Like at the last swap, I bought some guppy food. That was basically it. Everything else was money in my pocket to make sure that I can do things like buy more plants, pay for my fertilizers, buy fish food, or save it and buy something else like a new fluval light for another tank. That might actually be what I spend my last swap money on, is a new fluval light. Have you seen Pro Mode? Oh, baby, it's so good. It's so good. If you haven't seen that, there's a video up in the corner right now about my Pro Mode settings. I've been using those like crazy since on all the lights in the fish room. The fluval that's right behind me, that's on Pro Mode. I've got a lot of replanting to do in this tank because I basically ripped everything out of it except for a few things in a couple corners. But in Plants for Profit, we know all those plants are going to come right back. And more importantly, it just gives us an opportunity to sell more plants. So if you like this video, if you like the tips that are here, this isn't necessarily like the usual Plants for Profit where I'm trying to teach you specific tips about one series of plants or like how to do CO2. But this is something, the long goal. If you've been watching the Plants for Profit series, events like this are what you want to work toward because it's an opportunity to make probably the most money in the least amount of time. And I guarantee you that first day where you make $200 or $300 at a swap, you'll realize like the next swap, I know I can make just that little bit more. I know where I walked home with a few things that I can make sure I don't walk home with the next time. And then you'll be doing exactly what I am. You go to a swap and you just know, I'm going to give a lot of people some really awesome deals on plants, and I'm going to make a good amount of money for my time too. Now, I know this was a little different in Plants for Profit. Normally, it's a tip on a specific species of plant or why you want to use this kind of setup. But the goal of the Plants for Profit series, if you've been watching for a while, is to get to events like this. And the first time you make that like $200 or $300 profit after you're done, and I'm telling you, if you do it right, you will walk away with at least $300 every time. You're going to realize like, oh, if I just do this, I can make a little bit more next time. I can take a little less stuff home, and I can make that little extra bit of money. And that is when you're going to really, really enjoy events like this, just like I do. I love swap meets. I think they're a lot of fun, but also they're an opportunity to make a good chunk of money in one day. Nice and simple. And I don't have to take as many people through my house. I can do all my trimming in one shot. Get it done easy. If you've really enjoyed all the content in this video as far as the lessons learned here, do me a bit of a favor. If you're not subscribed, subscribe down below. You're going to get a lot more stuff like this, product reviews. I always give my honest opinion based on my own experience to help you succeed. I want to see more successful aquarists out there, more successful horticulturalists. Plants for Profit is my big thing, and I want to make sure that you can do the same. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And stay awesome. Mother Mary, it's hot in here. Now, I know what you're thinking. You look at the title of this film. Film? Remember, friends, when filming, always stay hydrated. Ooh, it's hot in here. I gotta be careful. The roommates are coming home.